Earlier, I spoke with Ben Tracy about the latest on the summit and some of the practical details that still have not been ironed out.
There have been no details given as to where this summit is going to take place, the hours in which it will take place. There's some confusion about whether it's 1 or 2 days. So some of those just basic details of something that's supposed to be happening in the next 48 hours have not been revealed.
Yeah, I mean, we can't underscore enough how unusual that really is when you talk about a summit of this magnitude. Well, you mentioned in your report that President Trump and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo seem to contradict each other on whether North Korea remains a nuclear threat. Could that get in the way of reaching a clear resolution in terms of what denuclearization actually looks like?
Yeah, that really is what this summit will come down to, is trying to define this term of denuclearization. In Singapore, it ended with this vaguely worded statement that basically said they will work towards the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And there was a lot of talk in the U.S. that, of course, denuclearization means giving up your nuclear weapons. That is not historically what that has meant to North Korea. And it's pretty clear from the last 8 months, where there has been zero progress on denuclearization, that that's not what North Korea means by it. When they say the Korean Peninsula, historically North Korea has meant that when everyone who has nuclear weapons in the world gives up their nuclear weapons, so will North Korea. That is a very different interpretation, needless to say, that the U.S. has.
Well, do we have any sense at all, Ben, of what's on the table in terms of what the U.S. will actually demand of North Korea in this summit?
That is going to be one of the most interesting things. I mean, I think getting this shared definition, if they can, of denuclearization. I think what the U.S. is looking for is North Korea to take some sort of concrete step in this process. It was widely believed after the first summit that what North Korea would do would lay out a declaration. Here's how many weapons we have. Here is where they are located. That would be considered a good first step, and that, in fact, that would be the price of entry for having a second summit. North Korea has not even done that. They have really done nothing on the denuclearization front, and yet they are getting this second summit with President Trump. So there does seem to be a feeling that there has to be some outcome of this, that North Korea has to take some step for this process to be able to move forward.
Well, Ben, what other key differences should we be aware of going into this summit compared to the last summit in Singapore?
Well, certainly what North Korea wants is sanctions relief. They want to get out from under these really crippling sanctions that are not allowing Kim Jong Un to do the economic reforms and to build the economy that he says he wants in North Korea. President Trump and Secretary Pompeo, though, have been very clear that they don't plan to lift those sanctions, that there's not going to be sanctions relief until North Korea takes some sort of concrete step to start giving up its weapons. Other things that you might hear them talk about is a declaration to formally end the Korean War. Some people say that's largely symbolic, but there's also a concern that if you were to announce a formal end to the Korean War, that down the road gives North Korea the ability to start questioning why the U.S. has more than 28,000 troops in South Korea and why we have so many weapons stationed on the peninsula. So those are not simple things, even though it seems strange to talk about a war that has been over for several decades now.
All right, Ben Tracy for us. Ben, thanks very much.
Thanks, Lynn.